program are those of the speakers and the host and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Anthony Hartwig with you. And it is an exciting day on the network as we have state semifinals tonight and tomorrow night. But first, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. We hope that everyone out there had a great holiday with whatever family members they were able to hang out with last night. I was hanging out with my dad's side of the family last night. Great to see all of them. Some people, excuse me, some people from in town, some people from out of town. Always good in a Thanksgiving feast when you can get your whole family together and have a wonderful time. Yesterday we had we announced probably one of our highest contested and debated power ranking list, and it wasn't for teams; it was for Thanksgiving food. And when you look at it, I agree because we had mashed potatoes at number one, and I just have to advocate yes, that is. The more I think about it, the more I think that is true. Because I had turkey number one on mine because I felt obligated to put turkey as number one. Turkey is just what you think of when you think of Thanksgiving. But here's the argument for mashed potatoes, and then we'll get to football because Ty is about 5 minutes down the road. He's stuck in construction work coming, from somewhere else. But mashed potatoes can go with it, because not everybody likes turkey. You get it? It's not everyone's favorite meat on the holidays. Some people want Thanksgiving ham. Some people want, God forbid, Thanksgiving steak. I've never seen that, but whatever kind of meat you want, the mashed potatoes is constant. It goes with it. Boom. And you can't mess up mashed potatoes, right? You can't have different variations. With turkey, there's dark turkey, there's white turkey. Like, which one do you like? The light meat? Do you like the dark meat? Do you like dry turkey or do you like the moist turkey? Do you like wet stuffing or do you like dry stuff? All these other things. You can have the variation that maybe the person doesn't like that kind of stuff. So mashed potatoes, that's a crowd pleaser. It's constant, it's steady, and there's almost no way to mess them up. I've been on the record saying I like them better smooth, but if someone puts down a mashed potatoes, I am not going to say no to mashed potatoes. I don't care if they have chunks of potato in them or not. Do I prefer them smooth? Yeah, I think they're better smooth, but I am not going to be like, puh, mashed potatoes, gross. Mashed potatoes, numero uno, and that is my 2 cents on the food power rankings. We also had, obviously stuffing is 2, apple pie 3, turkey 4, gravy 5, pumpkin pie 6. I thought that would be higher because I would put it above apple pie because pumpkin pie is like the staple of Thanksgiving and it's almost only eaten at Thanksgiving. I don't know anyone that I want a pumpkin pie for Christmas dinner. It just feels like Thanksgiving. I thought that would swap places. Green bean casserole, ew. Corn's good. I am an advocate that corn is different on the cob than it is off the cob. It just, I like it on the cob. I know I'm weird. Bread and dinner rolls. Let's go. Bread and dinner rolls is at 9. Mac and cheese at 10. Gotta love the mac and cheese. Stouffer's mac and cheese is where it's at. Cranberry sauce 11. Sweet potatoes 12. Got to get that stuff out of the way and recap Thanksgiving before we get to playoff football. Right, Ty? What do you think of the power rankings for food?
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, mashed potatoes.
Oh, that doesn't sound like you were very happy with it.
It is what it is. I threw turkey on top, and that's only because I feel like it's one of those things.
That's what I said.
think
I
we're
felt
stick with-
obligated, right? You felt obligated
Yeah,
to put turkey on top.
Siggy made a good point. It depends. Like, turkey is one of those things that could use work depending on who makes it too. I just had a smoked turkey yesterday that was smoked for quite a few hours, and
Right.
I mean, well deserved of being put up top in the top 3 at
Here
least.
was my argument for mashed potatoes, though, and I don't know if you heard it while you were coming in, but like there are different variations of turkey. You know, some people like to deep fry it, which is very dangerous. Don't deep fry turkey unless you know what you're doing, by the way, because that can go very, very wrong.
I do want to try that.
Very
I've never had a deep fried turkey, but I do want to try it. But I've seen
some people like it a little bit drier because they want to make sure it's cooked right, so they crank it up and it's a little bit more of a dry. Some people like the light meat. Some people like the dark meat turkey. You know what I'm saying? Like there are different variations. Mashed potatoes are like, here you go. No different variations. It's just here's your mashed potatoes. You can't really mess up mashed potatoes.
I will always say potatoes are like that one food I've said, like, if I'm gonna have like one food, like a food that you could be stuck with the rest of your life, like if you had a choice of a food or maybe two, like potatoes. Potatoes are one of those things you could do so many different things with too, and like there's so many different ways to cook and make potatoes, and it's all solid. But
there aren't too many potatoes I don't like. Like I like baked potato. I'll eat baked potato. I'll eat mashed potato.
Yeah,
I'll
potatoes.
Eat
I think the voices spoke too, and I mean potatoes definitely won out in the Thanksgiving.
Everyone had mashed potatoes at least in their top 3.
I will say though, a lot of people were also watching football too as a Thanksgiving tradition, and that tradition is going to continue into the Saturday night fiasco with us as well.
I couldn't I heard that it was like the 83rd consecutive year that the Detroit Lions have played on Thanksgiving. I didn't know it was that long. I was like,
they've been playing for quite some time.
They've been playing on Thanksgiving. I looked it up too, and I heard that since 1934. That's ridiculous. 83rd.
Our special teams let us down yesterday, so I don't want to talk too much about a Thanksgiving day.
Well, they helped you last week, so
yeah, I know they helped us.
Even yourself out.
Failed us this week, so it is.
Let's talk about some special teams with a space in between there. With 4 teams remaining, all 4 of them going for a spot in the state championship. Where do you want to start? You want to start low or high? Low or high? 3 or 7?
We started at 7 on Monday. Let's start at 3 today.
All right, we'll go to in Euclid tonight, up near Cleveland, in Euclid Community Stadium, and it's going to be Canfield taking on Holy Name. Canfield got the 14-7 win over Chardon last week, and it was one of those ones that we said continues this story that we've had this season of teams getting the monkey off their back, right? So there was a Chardon-sized monkey on Canfield's back, and the Cardinals were able to take it off, and now they go into this matchup with Holy Name on Friday night in Euclid. And Holy Name was also pretty impressive in their win in the semifinals as well. I'm looking for that final score. I know it's in our group chat because I was updating people on it. That's on Saturday. We won Friday's games. Holy Name won. There it is. Holy Name won 56-21 on Friday, so they will play.
And that was against Padua Franciscan. And funny enough, they played Padua in the beginning of the season, game number 1, and it was much closer. They did beat them 21-16, but this one, not even close second time around. And that's the second team that they've played twice now on the season. They also played an Elyria Catholic team twice in the regular season. They lost the first matchup on September 9th, 28-14, won the second matchup on October 21st, 42-25. The Green Wave, they're named by Coach Wondolowski. Dan Wondolowski, the head coach of the Holy Name Green Wave. It's going to be interesting to see, Ann, because I'm looking at these scores, and I'm seeing one thing that's very similar to me is the defense, at least like points per game wise, very similar to what you see from the Cardinals. This is a very talented defensive team that doesn't look like they allow many teams to score in the 20s.
And they can score, obviously, because they put up 56 in the regional final. That might be, that's the highest final I saw floating around Twitter. for the regional finals around the state, because I was trying to keep an eye on everybody. But 56 in the regional final is impressive. And correct me, I think Norwalk is also the green wave. I think we have 2 green waves this weekend that we're
I
dealing.
think you might be correct. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I think you might be correct. Green Wave, different name too. I like it. I like it for a different name.
So, you look at this Canfield team, though, and I don't think I'm stating something that's not obvious. Like, whether they win or lose is going to come down to how much success Brock Lowry is able to have. It's just that he sets everybody else up, right? Like, his success makes everybody else succeed.
It's the quarterbacks that go against the defense, right? And it's the defense that go against the quarterbacks. Even in those premier quarterback matchups, you're playing the defense. You're not playing the other quarterback, right? So what I'm looking at is 2 really good defenses that do one thing similar, and that's hold teams under 20 points a game consistently. Not too many times you see them give up more than 20. So it's going to come down to that quarterback defense battle. Which quarterback's going to be able to move down the field more? Because I think one thing's for sure, and what I've seen in the few videos I have seen from Holy Name is that they defend the run really well, and it's similar likewise to Canfield's situation. When you kind of take that run away, you limit that. It's the quarterback game that's going to have to be put a spotlight on it, if you will. And that you're going to be looking at that. You're absolutely right. What Brock Lowry can do, how he can move that team down the field when the ball's in his hands and he has to throw or has to run.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to run. I think Holy Name is really good at stopping the traditional run game, but we know that Brock Lowry is not traditional.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, for Canfield and for Holy Name, they're looking at this game probably similar to what Canfield was looking at last week, in that you just need enough to win, right? We could throw our defenses out there. We know our defense is going to give us a shot. We just need a couple drives to go our way. We don't need to score every drive. Likely, our defense is going to be good enough to put us in position to win this game. We just got to put some drives together.
And, early Canfield had a couple of, actually they just had that one turnover. But, obviously it goes without saying that you want to stay away from turnovers, because in a game that we expect to be closely contended and very defensive-minded, you don't want to give the other team extra possessions, obviously.
Yeah, no, you don't. And you got to be careful about that going forward with Canfield's sake. When you get to the top 4 teams in the state in your division, I mean, you're playing quality opponents, right? And turnover battles, all those coach talk things and all those things that are kind of the obvious, they really do shine out here. And you got to win that turnover battle. You really can't afford to lose it at this stage of the season, because if you do, it likely spells the end of your season.
And this has also been voted on as the Browns Youth Football Game of the Week matchup. So it'll be featured on their Twitter as well, which is always fun to see one of our local teams. Obviously, state semifinals, there's only a handful to choose from at this point, but always fun to see our local teams get recognized by that. You want to remind people that if you're going to the game, it's going to be $5 to park at Euclid. Tickets are only able to be purchased online, so there will be no tickets at the gate. $13 for adults, $10 for students. If you're heading out to the game tonight, and tickets can be purchased on the OHSA website. So make sure you get out there. It looks like a pretty nice day. You look at Storm Tracker 21 at kickoff. It's supposed to be around 45 degrees, so not too cold. Anytime it stays above 30, above that 40 mark, you should be good if you bundle up a little bit. So definitely no snow like last week, which is always a good thing. You don't want any of those blizzard actions, and it should be a fun night for football.
It absolutely should. And I mean, like we've seen all over social too, the teams that were practicing yesterday. And I mean, it's a good thing when you're practicing and on Thanksgiving Day and you have a football practice to go to, it means you did something well in the regular season.
Absolutely. And when you look at this Canfield team as well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said their defense. And what I was impressed with against Chardon is, and I think you've said this before too, the linebackers of Canfield are just so good. It takes a lot of pressure off of their D-line to be dominant. Like, you don't have to be a dominant defensive line when your linebackers are coming in and able to clean up stuff. And I love this linebacking core. I think they were the best linebacking core on the field, even though everyone praised certain linebackers last week, and that was one of the hype things about their defenses, how good their linebacking core was. I think Canfield's linebackers were the best on the field last week.
They all back each other up. And when you have 28 seniors that kind of know what they're supposed to do, they know the tradition, they know their roles on these teams as well. I mean, everyone's got each other's back, and it alleviates pressure from each line of defense that has to play the game, because the defensive line now knows, all right, if I miss or if I can't get through this block, I'm still going to be all right, because I know my boys right behind me can make great tackles and are some of the best tacklers in the state. And then the linebackers know that if they have to go to make a tackle or they have to play on the run, they know that their secondary is good enough to play in pass coverage, that they don't have to worry too often about double teaming a guy, because normally one-on-one, the Canfield secondary plays pretty well.
Ty, here's another interesting tidbit about today's game. Both these teams have not been here in a long time. And for Canfield, it was 2005, last time they won a regional final. For Holy Name, they haven't been this far in the playoffs since 1975. So they are really taking new heights into their program.
Almost a 50-year hiatus from being at this spot in the game. And you know what? Either way, it's going to be a great one, and I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see two new teams at this level of the game, and I love to say that, or I love to see it, because then I think it gives hopes to those other teams too, that, if you haven't been there in a while, heck, if you haven't been there at all, that there is still that chance to put that season together, and everyone has that chance at the beginning.
Yeah, and then when you look at the other side of the bracket real quick, just to let you know like what the other game to keep an eye on is in the state. If Canfield is able to win tonight, the other semifinal is Bloom Carroll against Tippecanoe. Tippecanoe is ranked 6th in the state, and Bloom Carroll is ranked 11th at the end of the regular season pools. So we'll see how that game ends up. Canfield was ranked 7th, just for comparison. Canfield was ranked 7th in the state at the end of the regular season polls. I think Holy Name was actually in the rankings too. I think they were down in the low, like in the mid to low teens, maybe like 14, 15, somewhere like that in the last polls of the regular season. So all the teams left were in the polls, but none of the top 5 teams left in the state in Division 3.
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job this season too. You talk about the Cardinals and a lot of teams that were, maybe not expected to go far, maybe not ranked the one of the best teams, right. But there's plenty of teams that are making the case, man. It doesn't matter what everyone says before the season. We just got to put in the work during the season.
So Canfield, Holy Name, Tippecanoe, Bloom Carroll, that's who you have left in Division 3. And tonight's going to be a fun one. Richie Giuliano will be on the call tonight. And reminder that it will be audio only, but it will also be free. Richie Giuliano will be with Mike Ackelson, and they will be in Euclid for this game.
Should be a fun one tonight, free on YSN.
I know we were going to go, but do you want to just go tonight and then tomorrow? That make more sense. Go with the games tonight and then go with the games tomorrow.
We can.
So other game tonight is South Range against Liberty Center. This one will be at Clyde High School, which if you're new to that name, I definitely was. I had to look it up on Google Maps to see where the heck Clyde High School was. It's a little bit like it's by Toledo. I don't want to say it's like a Toledo. You'd probably call it a Toledo suburb, maybe. It's a little bit east of Toledo, just short of Toledo. And of course, Liberty Center is kind of Sandusky kind of area. So a little bit closer to Liberty Center than South Range. But as we always say at this time, like you'll play in a parking lot at 2 a.m. if you have to. Doesn't matter where you'll play. South Range doesn't care. They'll make the trip down there and they'll give it their all. This is their first trip to the state semifinal since 2017 and third as a program for the Raiders, and they have not gotten to the next round. So they're looking to punch their first ever ticket to the state championship game.
Should be exciting times, but I mean, it's not going to be easy. One of these teams between them and Liberty Center is getting their first loss on the year.
Right.
I mean, both these teams come in 14-0 on the season. Liberty playing some pretty solid teams on their way to get here. Port Clinton, Liberty, Benton, Coldwater, and then Elmwood. Coldwater, a team we're familiar with name-wise too. That's typically a really good football program. Shut them out actually 34-0. coached by Casey Moeller. Should be interesting to see as far as what the Tigers are going to bring to the table. And for South Range, we've seen what they've been able to do all season long. What I've seen, though, in that last round by Liberty Center, Elmwood kind of pushed them a little bit. 49-38.
Oh, yeah, this was a close game.
Yes, they were kind of pushed in the last round a little bit, where South Range, outside of that Struthers game, hasn't really been pushed all season.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, I'm not worried, but the one thing that outside people might be like, well, this could be a question. Like, what will South Range do in a close game down the stretch? Because even that Struthers game, they were up by 10, late. It wasn't like a drive late in the fourth quarter where, like, we need this to win the game. So I think one of the questions would be, and it hasn't happened to South Range yet all through the playoffs, what happens if they get into a really close game down the stretch? Now, I'm not worried because Coach Yeagley has them prepared for everything. He's one of the most amazing coaches that we've seen in the area. So I'm not worried about them being prepared for any situation. I'm sure he practices every situation, even ones that they have never been through in the last 3 years. He probably has it in the back of his mind, like, what if this happens? So they'll be ready for that kind of thing. But it's one of those things you have to think of, like, how will the kids respond to a really close game down the stretch when they've never been in one this year?
You're playing a good football team too, regardless. And I mean, no shame in either team who walks away in defeat after this one. You win 14 straight football games in a season. I mean, you've done something right. And for both the Tigers and the Raiders, they're going to give it their all. These are quality, very, very talented football teams in all areas of the field. It's just iron going against iron. Let's see who's going to win.
And while I have these brackets up, I'll just go over what the state semifinal bracket looks like right now. And unlike Division 3, in the Division 5 state semifinals, it is all top 5 teams. The only top 5 team missing is number 3. So you have number 1 Ironton versus number 5 Valley View. On the other side, South Range finished 2, Liberty Center was 4. So you have all the top 5 teams minus the third-ranked team in this matchup for the state semifinals.
It's going to be
Ironton. By the way, we all talked about South Range, losing that Boulder and Kirtland. Ironton's in the same boat. The only difference is Ironton kept seeing Kirtland in the state final. So Ironton's in that same boat where they feel like the Kirtland Boulder's finally gone, and this is their window to go win a championship.
And that's, I mean, when you're the final 4 seats at the table, man, it's all quality teams. And I was kind of expecting, we'll see though, because anything can happen at this stage, but you kind of expect Ironton to be on the other side of that, awaiting the winner of this one.
And you'll look at it, man. I'm trying to look for where the third ranked team of the state even is. I thought I'd be playing Liberty Center, but they're not on that side. I wanted to see where 3 lost. Oh, you know what? 3 lost to Ironton. It was one in the state Ironton versus 3 in the state Harvest Prep, and Ironton beat them 14-0 in the regional championship. So that's where number 3 is. It should have been, 2 versus 4. I guess it could have never been 1 versus 3. It would have been 3 or 1. But either way, they don't line up the regions based on state rankings. So that's why the confusion there. But Ironton, number 1 team in the state. On the other side, South Range 2, and then you have 4 and 5. So it should be a very, very tightly contested state semifinal bracket for the state of Ohio in Division 5. You look at South Range. Let's talk about this team, the X's and O's, a little bit more before we get out and talk about the next 2 games. You look at this team, and I've said it all season, and I'm going to say it again for good measure in case we have new listeners out there that are just trying to tune in to find out what the South Range team is all about. And look, South Range has always had really good offenses in this like really successful stretch they've had since I guess you could go back as far as 2015. They've had really, really great offenses, and they've had defenses that have been good. Like, I'm not going to take away from the defenses of the past, but I keep saying that this defense for South Range just hits a little bit different. They're not letting those big plays that sometimes were their bugaboos back in the past. I think teams back in the past would say, we can get behind South Range's secondary and try to hit them for over-the-top bombs because they creep up a little bit to stop the run. That doesn't happen anymore. They've not let hardly any big plays in the passing game this season. They're a solid secondary because they can stop the run without having to need help from the safeties, which I credit We've praised Canfield's linebackers. We'll praise South Range's front too. Their front seven is just a little bit meaner than Raider teams in the past.
It definitely seems like they're a lot more focused this year, and it's going to be interesting to see when they go up against another 14-0 team that's going to show no fear. I mean, the other teams that you kind of run into, there might be a little bit of intimidation factor set in because of what the Raiders have done. They know the Raiders. I don't know if you're getting necessarily that, and you're certainly not getting it from the Raiders the other way with this Liberty Center team, but this might be one of the first opponents that doesn't fear South Range this season, but that might make the best of the Raiders.
They come out in tank tops and they start hooting and hollering in the warm-ups. Yeah. That'll make you fear them real quick.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to bring out is the offenses in these two teams are pretty similar in the sense that they have wing T philosophies, and they'll run plays that make you think like, oh, that's a wing T. And actually, Liberty Center can straight up go in the wing T, and they have to. And I'm sure South Range could too. But they also have quarterbacks that are dynamic enough to just go and spread you out in the shotgun and work that way too. So I think that's really impressive because you don't see a lot of quarterbacks, especially, but offenses in general, that can do both successfully. That can run that run option, that's wing T, triple option, whatever you want to call it. They can run that to perfection, but then when they have to, they can take a step back, get into a shotgun, and spread you out too. Usually it's one or the other, especially at this level in high school.
Yeah, and I mean, that versatility is what separates the great teams from the good teams, and you're going to have a couple of them going at it.
Yep.
Nothing's going to be everything's going to be pretty much what you see in the other opponent is what you see in yourselves, right? I mean, that's basically what you're going to be seeing from the other side out of Liberty Center. They're going to be a quality team. They're going to do a lot of things that South Range does well, and I think it's going to bring the best out of both teams, and I think that's what's going to make this game really fun to watch tonight is that the Raiders, like I said, to double down on it, they know that Liberty Center doesn't fear them. Liberty Center knows that South Range doesn't fear them. And you're going to get, I think, the best of these athletes come out because they're going to give you something to fear about.
Yeah, you're gonna see really good quarterback play tonight on both sides, and it's gonna be a fun show to watch. I would watch out for both teams' ability to attack the middle of the field. I think South Range does a really good job of running those seam routes in the middle to try to open up the numbers. I think Liberty Center could do that too. I think they can attack the middle of the field, so I think that's going to be fun to see the chess match between both coaches and both defensive coordinators as we kind of move forward into the playoff picture. Like I said, once again, just the same as the other games, this game's going to be free tonight, audio only on ysnlive.com/live. Liberty Center versus South Range at Klein High School. DJ Yoakley and Gary Niddle will be on the call for that one. It's a 7:00 kickoff. Tickets can be purchased on the OHSA site, but once again, another reminder that tickets can only be purchased online. They will not have tickets at the gate, so make sure to go to ohsa.com/tickets. Go to football, go to Division 5, and then go to South Range versus Liberty Center to get those tickets online. And of course, know the parking situation before you go there. I had a chance to look at this field in Clyde. It looks really cool. It's got like a jet at they're the Flyers. So it's got like a really cool jet at midfield. It looks really cool. So you're going to be aesthetically pleased if you go to that game tonight for South Range.
Two teams in two different divisions playing for two spots in the state final. And what more can you ask for here Friday night?
I don't know what more you could ask for. You probably could ask for some basketball, and you're going to get it too. We'll go over the basketball for tonight and tomorrow, and also tomorrow's two playoff matchups. To next on Running Point after this quick break as we talk to our sponsors. This is Running Point brought to you by, as always, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Down. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. We've went over the playoff games tonight, South Range versus Liberty Center, and we have also Holy Name versus Canfield, both tonight at 7 o'clock, free audio only. We'll go to tomorrow's football games, and we'll start with Warren JFK playing Newark Catholic. This is 1 in the state versus 3. So it should be a really good matchup. It's a rematch of last year's playoff game that knocked JFK out of the playoffs in a blizzard last year. This year, the conditions look a little bit better. It shouldn't be a blizzard out, but two very good teams that have both been in this place before. I think this is the 3rd straight state semifinal for Newark Catholic, and JFK obviously has been in this round a lot as well.
Yeah, and both teams, too, only 1 loss on the season. And for Newark Catholic, their loss came to a Division II Licking Heights opponent, 27-17, back on September 16th. Newark Catholic also, though, had a couple games canceled on them in the regular season. JFK had just the 1, but both these teams have records that are not, I guess, a full 14-week schedule to this point. Newark Catholic is 11-1. JFK is 12-1 to this point at the season. I think what's going to be interesting is how JFK plays in this situation. And I know that's a simple prospect, but just go a little bit in depth with JFK. A lot of those guys are coming back from last year too, and like you said, they had that taste, and they knew what happened last year. They knew what the result was last year, right? What kind of game plan do we see from the JFK Eagles, and what do we see mentality wise from the Eagles is the question, because there's a such thing as wanting it too much, and you can see that these kids can go out and I mean you can want something too much and it can lead to mistakes, but there's also something of just being laser focused, because that's been the goal. You've kind of seen red when you've seen that team all season because you knew what happened, and you might see the most dangerous form of JFK that you can see tonight. I'm curious to see what we see from these kids. Either way, it's a great season, lot to be proud of for the Eagles, because once again, in the state Final Four, you done something right. You're regional champions once again. But for JFK and for Coach Perlogo to take that next step further, you got to get past the team that took you down a year ago.
Yeah, when you look at the scouting report of Newark, especially when you look at the last game, if this game comes down to special teams, then this Green Wave team is going to be no worries, because they kind of honestly they won last week with special teams. They kicked 2 field goals that were pretty decent in length. Their sophomore field goal kicker Jose Lopez is touted as one of the top kickers in the state, and they also had a couple of key punt returns that gave them really good field position. So if you look at special teams for this Green Wave team, JFK's got to make sure it doesn't come down to special teams, and they really got to make sure that it doesn't come down to field goal kicking, because, like I said, this sophomore kicker, this young guy for Newark Catholic, Jose Lopez, is touted as one of the best in the state.
I think it's going to be an advantage though for JFK, the fact that they played yet another close ball game that they came on top of last week, and I think that's going to benefit JFK going into this week. I feel like, like I said, they have such good coaching, and I mean these are such great kids too, high level character kids on this team as well. I mean, you expect them, they're going to want this game. How much are they going to want it? Are they going to want it too much is the question going into this one. But I think either way, it's going to be a good game. It was a great one last year, and you're bringing back a lot of familiar names on JFK's side. I mean, 14-7 Newark Catholic took this one last year. It was not a bad game in the slightest. It was close, defensive oriented. I'm curious.
And I remember it was in a blizzard, so
yeah. And I'm curious to see too what kind of JFK team we're going to see offensively tonight. How much are they putting that foot on the gas? Because
you're going to know is Coach Perlogo is no coward to pull out all the stops.
No doubt.
If he's kind of going for 2 to win it, he'll do it.
So I'm curious to see how much the foot on the gas offensively.
No overtime for JFK. That's a rule.
Yeah, definitely.
So, if they have a touchdown that brings them within 1 and a PAT would tie it, he's going to go 2.
Let's do it. Should be a fun one. It was a great game last year. Like you said, he had no blizzard to worry about, and for Caleb Hadley, that could be a lot more options offensively.
Yeah, I don't think people talk about him enough, because this JFK offense hasn't been like lighting the world on fire this year, to say the least. But man, that kid just shows up in big situations. It seems like every JFK kid in their blood just knows how to go make those clutch plays when you need them to be made. But Caleb Hadley doesn't get talked about enough. Obviously, we have so many good quarterbacks in this area, but man, he knows how to make plays when you need him to make plays. I've never seen a situation this year where it's like, okay, Caleb, we need you to go out and make this play, and he doesn't come through with the play that they need.
I mean, they count on him, and I mean, they can count on him. He's proven that they can count on him for the last couple of years. Coach Perlogo depends on him in those big situations, and more times than not, he comes through for them, and they got another regional championship under their belt. They're looking to build on last season.
2 game-winning 2-point conversions this year, one against Garfield and one last week. He threw it in against Garfield. He ran it in against last week. So 2-point conversions, hey, we have to rely on you. Literally go win the game. Okay, Coach, I can do that.
He's got that. He's had that gene ever since he had those big hits in the baseball state championship too. He had big hits then. I mean, this is nothing new to this young man. He's
And
always
it's like, how do they keep popping out kids that can do this? You know?
Yeah, because Michael Morrow was the same way. That's the what I mean, like
Morrow, Cam Hollabaugh. It's like, how do you keep this pulling out? Boop, 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 boop. Not just athletes, because a lot of schools have a lot of athletes, but they're like clutch athletes that just know how to make big plays in big situations.
Absolutely.
And I think, honestly, jokes aside, I think the culture of Warren JFK might have something to do with that.
Absolutely. They shut out the noise. They don't care what you say. They don't really hear what you say. Let you say what you need to say. They don't care. They go out, they get to this level in a lot of sports year in and year out. They don't care.
They are our only number 1 ranked team in the state, and they'll be playing against, let's see, it is going to be number 3 in the state, Norwalk Catholic. The other side of that state bracket is going to be number 12, Lima Central Catholic, against number 20, New Bremen. Don't let that 20 fool you in front of New Bremen, though, because we know it's the team that beat JFK in the state championship not too long ago. So they're trying to force that rematch. So is JFK.
Could you imagine if that, like, if there were sports gods, man, and they wanted a storyline to line up, and this was JFK's story, like if this is meant to be out of the 14 stories at this table, if this is JFK's year and it's meant to be their story, I mean, how more fitting would it be if New Bremen's the team that comes out of the other side?
New Bremen is also the only public school left in Division 7. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, Lima Central Catholic, Newark Catholic, and Warren JFK are all non-public schools. So New Bremen, the only public school left in Division 7. I don't think that's much of a talking point as it used to be in the 90s and the early 2000s with open enrollment. But I know also that MAC has that, they don't really open enroll too much in the MAC that New Bremen plays in. So that's just one little tidbit to keep an eye on as well.
It's just it's satisfying for some to see public and parochial in it. I like to see both ways because I like it that it shows that there's more than one way to get there and there's more than one way to do things in sports. And I love to see a little bit of representation from both.
All right, time for the last one on Saturday. We'll head to Division 4, and it is going to be the 22 ranked in the state Jefferson Falcons against the number 1 team in the state, Glenville. But you look at it, I don't know how good Van Wert is. They could be a top team in the state too. They could be like ranked 3rd or whatever. I can actually go look at the bracket and see where they were ranked. But like Glenville was not dominant in their regional final. This was a close back and forth game against Van Wert. It was tough. Like Glenville did not look like the team that's going to go and blow out a regional final team like 35-0. Like it was Van Wert gave them all they can handle.
The Tar Blooders, another great season though, led by Ted Giddens Sr.
What'd you say? Can you repeat that nickname?
Aren't they the Tar Blooders?
I know. I wanted to hear it one more time because it's just so cool.
Yeah,
the Tar Blooders.
I was like, wait a minute.
It's like talking about intimidation. We have to go up against the Tar Blooders.
Yeah. I was like, I know that's a unique enough name that I'm pretty sure I didn't get that wrong.
I don't even know what that. I want to see what that is. What is a Tar Blooders?
Head coach Ted Giddens Sr. You know Ted Giddens Jr.
Oh, he probably knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Very good football mind. 13-0 again this season. They're a very good program. But you know what? If I'm gonna go with anyone in this story, or heck of a story this season, it's Coach Brandon Hanna, and it's that Jefferson Falcons team. I mean, like, you want to talk about just a story where it just feels like it's supposed to be Jefferson's year this year with how many games and how they've pulled off so many impressive wins inside the NE8 against teams like Canton South and West Branch. Like, it is impressive week in and week out. Jefferson they find a way.
So you want a cool little tidbit about this Tar Blooder team? This is actually from Glenville's website, so it has like the history of the school. This name comes from a school battle cry that started during the 1940s that indicated that the members of the Glenville athletic community would whack the tar and blood from its opponents.
Like that. You want to talk about like brute intimidation. I like it though. Grounded in tradition. It's probably an awesome stadium to see.
That's why their colors are red and black, and their mascot symbol is a cross between a robot and a Tin Man, derived from the derived from the imagination of former Glenville students. So their logo is really cool too. It's supposed to be, I guess, a mix of a robot and a Tin Man. So
I like it.
Let that sink in. It's unique.
I
It's
get
unique.
down with
That's
it.
for sure.
I get down with high schools like that are a little bit unique, a little bit,
You
weird.
had one. I remember when you were calling a game. It was a girls' basketball game. It was East Canton, but you were looking at it. It was like they're the Wizards, and everyone else is the Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to make sure you had the right school because we were like, wait a minute, is this the right roster? Because I'm seeing East Canton Hornets everywhere, but it's the Wizards for girls basketball. There is a story behind that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but there is a reason why. I think their head coach wanted their girls basketball team to be different, not be the Lady Hornets, so he just made them the Wizards, and so they could be standing out, and it just stuck. So
I love
but
those
anyway.
stories.
Back to football, back to Glenville. Obviously Jefferson is the biggest underdog we have. I would agree with that, right? That of all the state semifinals, probably the biggest underdog per se.
No doubt.
But they've been the underdog all season, especially
Absolutely
all playoffs. The only game you could argue they were favored was the Poland game.
I feel like, yeah, and I mean, even in that one, you were still looking at a Poland team that's been to the state Final Four in the last decade. You're looking at a Jefferson team that hadn't won a playoff game to that point. So yeah, Jefferson was higher seeded, but Poland had the experience. Poland was there before, and they definitely pushed Jefferson for all that they could handle. Honestly, with Jefferson, it's literally been, I feel like everyone plays with a chip on their shoulder, and they're led by one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the state of Ohio, and Brandon Hanna. Like, I feel like, I mean, what he's been able to do and the buy-in he's gotten from these kids and just how special these kids are, pair it with the fact that you got an old special quarterback under center in Grant Hitchcock that can pull off everything from offense, defense, special teams. Like, this kid, he plays his best when the lights shine brightest, and it seems like there's never any stage that's too big for him.
Alfred Hitchcock was the master of suspense, and I think Grant Hitchcock just feeds into the nightmares of every opponent that he comes up against, and the master of horror and suspense to his opponents. Because, man, watching that kid play is something else. But I said on Monday, like, you can't leave out Mr. Hodge and Mr. Oh, geez.
Funtash.
Funtash. Sorry. Funtash. Can't leave out those two either because they've been really key members, especially in this run game. Funtash ran for over 150 yards in their win against West Branch. And then in the game before, Grant Hitchcock ran for 191 in their win over Canton South. So on the ground is where Jefferson makes their hay. And if they can execute the game plan that they've had the last 2 weeks, remember they've scored 90 points in their 2 regional games, regional semis, regional final. It's supposed to be harder to score as you go along. Jefferson scored less in their first round games than they did in their next round games. Something has clicked in this offense, and that can be dangerous.
Grant Hitchcock has been the master of suspense each and every round. It's been kind of a close game where he's kept the Falcon faithful on the edge of their seat. But you know what? I don't care. We need to start ditching the fly like an eagle, the song and the quote. We got to start saying fly like a falcon because these Falcons have nothing but speed. And that's what they've been beating teams with all season.
You know what this, Ty, and we've had in the comments, it's Falcon fever.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's running at a high temperature, and it's coming for you on Saturday.
It's going to be exciting to see. I mean, Jefferson, they feel like I feel, at least in my opinion, they feel like they're playing with house money ever since that first game. Look, we're going to go out and do our thing.
Just like against West Branch, everyone's saying, well, this is the end of Jefferson's road. You know, they're playing the number 1 team in the state. Congratulations on the good run. You're happy to be here. Now go home and put your Cinderella slipper away. Jefferson's not buying that. They're like, we've had that talk to us since we played Girard. You know, Girard was supposed to end our season. And then Canton South came off that big win against Beaver Local. They were supposed to end our season. You can't stop Canton South. Well, you know, we beat up Canton South. And then, obviously, West Branch was supposed to be the end of our season. We went down by 12. You know, the West Branch scored in their first 2 possessions. We were down 12-0. We still came back and we won against West Branch. So I think Jefferson is tired of the underdog mentality and tired of people telling them that their season is over before the game gets played.
I feel like they're just playing with little to no pressure on their shoulders, because that's exactly what it is. Everyone's
And how
saying,
about this? Like,
be here. Let's show them why we are.
If Jefferson loses, it'll be like oh ho hum. If the number one team in the state loses, that's like they have all the pressure. They're the number one team in the state. They're supposed to come and win this game.
Absolutely. You're the one that has all the pressure on your shoulders. You have to perform. Jefferson, no one's expecting him to be here. Everyone outside of the YSN map and the ones that actually know what this Falcon team are made of, everyone outside of it looks at this matchup and expects Jefferson to lose. Like I said, they're playing with house money. There's obviously always pressure at stages for sure. I'm not going to say that there's no pressure on these kids, but there's almost less pressure in going in this situation, because you're just saying, we're going to go out, play our best kind of game. We'll see what happens. Where in Glenn's mind, when you think you have to beat a team because you were ranked, you're supposed to be at this next stage, it could be in your subconscious and it can lead to mistakes, certainly.
And they're the number one team in the state, as I said. Jefferson ranked 22nd. The rest of the state in Division 4 is number 7 Steubenville against number 8 Wyoming in the other semifinal. So that'll be one to watch to see if Jefferson's able to pull it off.
Team too, man.
Who they end up playing.
That Steubenville team, they're big, they're strong, and they push teams around. So I thought when I saw them too that they were going to be contending for the state Final Four, and here they are once again. The Big Red are starting to roll.
Yeah, and Steubenville was able to win against Indian Valley, and it wasn't even close. It was 48-7 in the final.
It's the line and it's the running backs. I mean, that's always what Steubenville's kind of mantra has been, but they have so much strength. I mean, it's one of those Big Red years where it feels like, I mean, they're going to be destined to be in the final few spots.
And then, of course, Wyoming got the win over Taft, and it looks like it was 7-0. So very different scores, 49-7, 7-0. That one over there. You never want to say it's going to be a blowout because it's 7 versus 8, so you never know. One obviously more inclined to their defense, one more inclined to their offense. But if those two scores are any indication, it could be heading towards a not so pretty outlook for Wyoming in the state semifinal on the other side of the bracket.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you didn't see too, go check out on our YSN social media. We shared a nice thing too. Also pictures by Mahoning Valley Sports. Mm-hmm. That was released both on the teams playing tonight on the Raiders and Cardinals. So get your hype video package ready and get yourselves ready. If you're going out to the game, be safe tonight, obviously. But if you're going to be staying in and listening to us too, get yourself ready with a hype package. And let's learn and let's talk a little bit about these teams again. I mean, this is going to be a great night, I think, on the network. And we got these two football teams that we're going to be available to listen to. 2 great seasons, both in Canfield. We're hoping Canfield rolls tonight with South Range and the Cardinals. But we also have some basketball on the network too. That, I mean, you can watch those games as well too. So you could have a game where you're watching while you're listening too, like on your phone or something. So you could have the best of both, watching and listening to YSN tonight.
So, quick recap of what the playoffs looks like for tomorrow. Wednesday, Newark Catholic against JFK at Orville High School. 7 o'clock kickoff. Dom O'Brien will be on the call for that one. And then you will have Glenville versus Jefferson, 7 o'clock. That'll be at Perry High School, the Perry that South Range just beat. Now hosting a game. That's kind of awkward. We just got knocked out. We're going to host the state semifinals. But they'll be in Perry. 4-4-0 goal, and Pat Sartor will have the call there. And that'll be at 7 o'clock for free audio only, like all the other playoff games. You said it, Ty. We do have basketball on the docket today. We'll go over boys basketball first. It'll be Columbiana and Middle Ridge. Ian O'Brien will have the call there. Lakeview travels to Champion tonight. West Branch at McDonald. Michael Janaki will be making the trip with the Warriors to call that game for McDonald. Heartland Christian will take on Lake Center Christian at Lisbon as part of their tip-off classic. That'll be at 6 o'clock, excuse me. And then at 7:30, also at Lisbon, it'll be Urban Scholars against Lisbon. Mark Franken will have the call of the Heartland game. Rick Daly will be calling the Lisbon boys basketball game. We also have some girls basketball games happening tonight. Won't be on the network, but Lakeview will travel to Champion as part of a boys-girls doubleheader in Champion. And then Edgewood will travel to Cheney tonight at 7 o'clock as well. The basketball game's happening tomorrow. Real quick, we have Struthers at Cardinal Mooney for girls basketball at 5:30. East Liverpool girls will travel to West Branch at 7. And then I will be in Louisville as they welcome in Green at 1:30 in the Leopard's Den for girls basketball. Boys basketball, we'll have East Lake North at Orange at 6:30 tip-off. We'll have the winners of the two games versus each other at Lisbon, and then the losers will play each other as well. So the losers will play each other at 6. The winners will play each other at 7:30. And then one last game tomorrow is Time and Tuning Valley at Jefferson at 7 o'clock. So going to be a fun weekend. We got basketball, we got football, of course, and don't miss a minute of it on ysnlive.com/live.
All free too tonight, so no payment. You get to listen to the games, the football games, for free and the audio only, and that's because Spectrum locks us out too. It's not that we don't want to be there with the video, because we would if we could. Is the situation, but we can't.
A lot of people still ask, like, are there video broadcasts? And yes, there will be a video stream tonight on the OHSAU website. It is brought to you by Spectrum Sports, and it'll be $9.99 for that. We heard a lot of people last week bought that, turned it down to listen to us, which we appreciate. Best of both worlds. Get a little bit of the video, turn down their announcers, and turn up ours, so you can get the home cooking of your announcers that you've listened to all season. If you're inclined to do that, then share it with us on social. We'd love to see you watching and listening at the same time. Have a good night, everybody. Hopefully we get some wins. Hopefully on Monday we can come in and talk about 4 state championship games on Monday, and we'll talk about some girls and boys basketball wins as well.
But we do. I mean, and with the holiday just the other day too, we're certainly here at the network. We're certainly thankful for all of the teams, the communities, the homes, the houses that we are so graciously invited to each and almost every night by so many different families, so many different communities, different states throughout the continental United States, where people are listening to us and to these teams, and we of course appreciate your support, because it all goes directly to these kids and us hyping up these kids and making these kids look like the true superstars that they are. So we're thankful for the support that you continue to give us, and for the teams and the communities that continue to believe in us each and every year.
All right, now I don't believe that there will be Power Hour today. I think DJ is making the trip with South Range. I think they're leaving around 2:30.
He's going to be busy tonight.
So I don't want to talk. I don't want to say for sure if there is a Power Hour. I am under the impression there is no Power Hour today. But obviously DJ's making the trip to Clyde, which is over 2 hours away, down towards Toledo. So should be a fun one tonight as well. So tune in tonight, 7 o'clock, with all your tip-offs and kickoffs. ysnlive.com/live, brought to you for free thanks to our wonderful sponsors, as always. This is Running Point, brought to you by our wonderful presenting sponsor, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We cannot thank them enough for believing in this show and believing in YSN. We're signing off. Me and Ty will be back on Monday from 1 to 2, talk about the weekend's action and recap everything for you. Make sure to tune in then. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy the rivalry college football games on Saturday. We know everyone's hyped up for Ohio State and that team up north. I'm not going to say it because that's a rule, even though I don't participate. I'm not an Ohio State fan per se. I will follow the rules of the locals. I will not say the name, and I will not use that letter. To hell with Georgia.
You better observe respect.
I will observe respect as long as you observe.
You're gonna get a Swift Go Bulldogs from me then on.
No, don't do it. I didn't say it. I didn't say the name, so you can't do that to me. Give me a with Georgia, and we'll be fine. THWG, let's go. It's gonna be a fun weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in again. We'll be back on Monday from 1